Every season of Survivor is a story. There are main characters, sidekicks, comic reliefs, and villains. A good season of Survivor tells a compelling story. It will grip you and have you rooting for someone and against someone else. You'll want to tune in episode after episode to see what happens next until it all finishes with a hopefully satisfying conclusion. Each short story that we look at together will go through one character's journey from beginning to end, from the time that they are introduced until they inevitably get their torch snuffed. We will look at every major character moment and strategic move to determine whether they were a hero or a villain and whether they were a good or bad strategist. And with that, welcome to Once Upon an Island. For reference, we will only be observing what the TV show is showing us and what story is being told through the show. No future seasons will be mentioned, as the story and characters here have no idea and therefore are unaffected by those future seasons. All character moments and strategic moves are interpreted with the mindset of what the story is trying to tell us. And with that, I want to thank you all for supporting this channel. Subscribing, liking, commenting, and sharing is so crucial to this channel's growth, and it makes all of this possible. Now, if you want to do even more to help keep the ship afloat, then consider supporting this channel on Patreon. You get all videos weeks before they ever see the light of day here on YouTube, and you can also vote for which survivors I tell the stories of, like this one, and even get an exclusive Patreon-only video each month about the topic of your choosing. Thank you for your support.
39 days, 16 people, 1 survivor.
Andrew Savage, a 39-year-old attorney, was a castaway on Survivor's 7th season, Survivor Pearl Islands. His time on this season left such a lasting impression on the fanbase that he was actually voted back by the fans to play again in season 31, and even Jeff Probst said that the outcast twist ruined Andrew's game because he was in a good position before it happened. So is this true? Was Andrew Savage set for success to possibly win the whole thing, but essentially just got screwed by a twist? Let's find out. The season starts off, and unlike in previous seasons, both tribes are surprised when Jeff reveals to them that the game is starting earlier than they thought, and all they get to go into the game with is what they're wearing on their back, plus a pair of tennis shoes. They're all split up into two tribes, Drake and Morgan. Savage is selected for the Morgan tribe.
Last member of the Morgan tribe, Andrew. Sporting a nice tie and an expensive suit.
Arriving at the Morgan camp, the tribe is looking for a way to not have to build like a full-blown shelter, and they see that, hey, there's this big wall and we could just put our bamboo poles up against it, and basically our shelter's built just that easily.
There's this big shale rock wall, and we think there's this great bamboo post just naturally lying around, and we're like, this is the best.
They're really trying to live the dream of work smarter, not harder. Now that is until they find out that this big wall that they supposedly thought was sturdy is not actually that sturdy, and in fact it's made of shale and it breaks apart very easily. Oh, and it is home to a ton of crabs and other things that pinch them at night.
Don't bit my hand!
Tree Mail arrives at the camp, and for the first time we see definitively who Andrew Savage is as a person and to this Morgan tribe. He is a leader and the tribe flocks to him, and he assumes the role with no issue whatsoever.
So we just focus for whatever, 15, 20 minutes.
The very first moment Andrew gave the presence of a leader, nobody challenged it.
Now in Survivor, being the leader can be a good thing if your tribe is dominating, but it puts a big target on your back, more than likely, if your tribe fails or if you end up reaching the merge.
I made a suggestion just because I knew I didn't want to be the leader, but I knew that we needed somebody. So we appointed Andrew ahead of time as our leader before the challenge.
Before the immunity challenge, Austin apparently is having issues keeping his shorts up, so Savage says that, hey, if for some reason you have to go nude during the challenge, you won't have to do it alone, I'll join you.
During any activity against the other tribe, if his shorts go down,
We won't make him embarrassed by being nude, so we'll do the same.
Having your tribe's back is the mark of a good leader, and of course, during the immunity challenge, since it was talked about back at camp, that is exactly what happens, as Austin's shorts have to come off, and so do Andrew Savage's.
What are you guys doing?
Great!
Now Andrew's naked.
They better hope they don't lose their weenies out here.
Now they do lose the immunity challenge naked, and then after the challenge, everyone gathers around Andrew, and when he talks to the ladies, he's a bit mean when he describes Skinny Ryan's efforts during the challenge and says he's a limp noodle.
Saw our friend Ryan, who's back at the camp, just quit about a third of the way in. So the question is Lily up for that, or are we better off with the limp noodle Ryan?
Which is not what a good leader does. A good leader does not talk about other people who are underneath them behind their back to other people in his own tribe. Afterwards, it turns out that Nicole is going behind the majority's back and is actually working her own plan to get Tawana out, which is not the plan that everyone else was pretty much going with, as it is supposed to be Skinny Ryan. Lil and Tawana show a lot of trust with Savage when telling him about what Nicole is doing and believing what he says as well.
Well, this is what went on for me. Nicole comes to me. She tells me, let's get rid of Tawanda.
What? That's a hell of a strategy.
At Tribal Council, Jeff Probst is asking about camp life, and when Savage describes their shelter, everyone gets a good laugh.
Well, we built a fashionable hut and we put a floor down and the poles were uneven, so that didn't work very well. So we didn't quite get the job done.
Ultimately, Nicole is voted out unanimously over Skinny Ryan.
Nicole, tribe spoken. Time for you to go.
Upon first impression, Andrew comes across as intelligent, a good listener, and clearly a guy the tribe trusts as their leader without any issue. He is strategically leading the charge, but his comments about Skinny Ryan are a little off-putting. It makes you wonder where they even came from, since he normally talks in a way that is a lot nicer, more professional, and a bit more diplomatic. Anyways, it will be interesting to see how he works as the Morgan tribe leader for the duration of the game. The Morgan tribe loses reward, and Survivor Pearl Islands has a new twist that just for this season, whoever wins a reward gets to go over to the losing tribe's camp and take one item of their choosing from that camp. Now, upon Morgan losing, Savage is not happy, and he explains how when some punk from Drake comes over here to take their stuff, it may not seem like a big deal to us at home, but it is to the Morgan tribe since they don't have much and they're living this right now. Now, this is really amplified by when Sandra takes their tarp since they don't really have much else of value, and she was a bit disappointed to even have to take that because she was looking for something better.
We're just getting by. So when some little punk from Drake comes by here to take one of our items, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you're living this, it's huge.
Austin has been expressing all episode how him having a lack of clothes, since he sold it all back at the beginning of the game, is making him feel like he may be getting sick. When Sandra takes the tarp, he finally cracks and says he will be quitting that night after they fix the shelter.
After we get to go to the shelter, I might decide to leave, to be honest with you. I'm spent right now.
Now, Savage knows that this needs to be nipped in the bud immediately, since if Austin actually does quit, or if he just continues to pout and saying he's going to quit, it will be a real morale killer for the tribe.
We need people around that are on the ups. We don't need people just walking around, I want to go home, It's a real morale killer for the tribe.
The Morgan tribe does lose immunity again and are now on a 3-challenge losing streak, and Austin is still expressing how he is ready to go. In fact, he literally goes up to Skinny Ryan and says, "Vote me out."
You can vote for me, Charlie. You can vote for me, Charlie. For me. Yeah.
Now, Savage doesn't quite agree that Austin should go home because even Austin, a little bit sick and a little bit weak, is not the weakest member on the tribe at all. And he actually convinces Austin to stay and instead helps to vote out Skinny Ryan, who has definitely held them back in multiple challenges.
Ryan, tribe spoken. Time for you to go.
The next day, Lil expresses how she is not happy that Austin went home over her friend Skinny Ryan when it was clear that Austin had tried to quit. Now, Savage tries to explain how there is a difference between thinking about quitting and actually doing the action of quitting, which is true, but we clearly saw Austin try to quit multiple times and he had to be talked out of it, which is more than just simply thinking about quitting.
He quit.
He didn't quit. He said he was interested in quitting, and I think there's a big difference between quitting and pulling the trigger and actually quitting.
Morgan once again loses reward, and Krista from the Drake tribe comes on over to pillage an item, and when she comes to visit, Savage tries to subtly ask her about what is happening at Drake in basically the least subtle way possible.
So are they cool in your tribe, pretty much, or you got some?
Yeah, everybody get along.
So who's the leader? The first immunity challenge, you lose. Who do you think's gone in your tribe?
I have no idea. Well, that's the funny part.
Krista expresses to us how it made her uncomfortable to have these questions being asked of her, and she didn't want to tell them anything, so she kind of just played dumb instead.
It was just really hard because I was just put so on the spot. I felt so under pressure. Everybody was trying to hammer me with questions, and I was just trying to think of the right thing to say. It was overwhelming. It was overwhelming. I just wanted to get out of there. I just wanted to get out of there.
Morgan then loses immunity again and are on a 5-challenge losing streak. Savage then tells us what we kind of already knew, but he is in the majority 4-person alliance, while Lil and Dara are on the outs.
Rhino, OT, and myself and T have an alliance, I guess you would call it. So we're not going anywhere. So it's either Dara or Lil.
Lil talks to him about her wanting to stay in the game, and during that talk he expresses to her how, hey Lil, if you're going home, I'll let you know, and if you're not, I'll let you know anyways. She really appreciates this.
Well, how would you feel if you were the one to go tonight?
Very, very resentful.
The least you deserve is the brutal, honest truth. If it's not going your way, I'll tell you. If it's going your way, I'll tell you.
However, she does get voted out, and he did not tell her she was going home.
Time for you to go.
What is made even worse is how she still carries this with her when she is voted out and talks about how Savage never got back to her.
It bothers me that our leader said he would get back to me after I stated my case, and he didn't.
It feels like it is Morgan against the world for Savage. They can't win a challenge, they can't catch any fish, and Mother Nature seems to even be against them as, well, the ocean's coming up on their camp, but the Morgan tribe will push on anyways.
I think it's us against everything else out here. Against the surf, against the mosquitoes, against the crabs.
The Morgan tribe loses the reward challenge and are now 0 for 6. Back at camp, Savage and Rhino try to explore the island and find another cove. There's another cove on their map, and they think if they go there, this might be an easier place to fish. There's greener grass on the other side of the island is what they're thinking. However, they get lost, and what they find is actually infinitely worse than their own camp, and they seem devastated that there is not greener grass on the other side of the island.
Why is this side so choppy? I thought the other side was supposed to be calmer. That's what I think we are. Yeah.
Finally, it happens. The Morgan tribe breaks the losing streak and wins their first immunity challenge.
Morgan wins her first challenge. Morgan wins immunity. Morgan finally on the board. Congratulations.
Now, this does come with an asterisk, as if you watch the episode, it's revealed that Drake did go into the challenge with the intention of throwing it, and they did sit some of their strongest challenge members out to make sure that happens. But who cares? A win is a win, and as a result of winning, Morgan gets to temporarily kidnap one player from Drake, so they pick Rupert, which is a great choice.
They will participate with you in the next reward challenge and share in that reward if you win. Who's it gonna be, Savage? Rupert.
Not only is this choice great at face value, since Probst told them you get to keep them through the reward challenge, but Rupert goes on to help them move and rebuild their shelter, catch fish, and then win said reward challenge. He is truly the morale boost their tribe needed. As Savage says,
Rupert's been a godsend. He's an absolute workaholic. Work ethic is impeccable. A lot of it was Rupert, but if you saw us in the boat, the Morgan tribe was perfectly in sync. We're on a high. We've proven to ourselves that we can win.
because Morgan wins reward, they now get to take their shot at pillaging an item from Drake. Savage is the representative that goes over, and he has cultivated a bond with Rupert while Rupert was over at Morgan that helps him here, as Rupert offers him a good portion of Drake's rice supply. Of course, Savage could take all of their rice, but that would be a bad long-term plan, so he takes the good portion that Rupert offers him, which doesn't at all anger the Drake tribe.
I poured 2 more bowls full of rice in his bag, and he was happy. That truly was not eluding. That was friends helping friends.
Things keep going their way as they then win the next immunity challenge with no help from Drake at all.
Morgan, good! Immunity!
Back at camp, there's a pelican. Now, this is no ordinary pelican. While most people don't mind it, and Rhino even embraces it since he likes animals, Austin is anti-pelican. He wants no part of it, and despite his disgust for Pelican Pete, it is a lighthearted moment that everyone on the Morgan tribe enjoys.
I'm gonna just sit right now. I'm not turning around.
He wants to sit on your lap.
The Morgan tribe's winning streak is broken when they lose reward, and once again Drake gets to pillage one item from them. Johnny Fairplay, who is definitely a villain at this point in the show, comes over and pokes the Morgan tribe morale on purpose by telling them that actually that first immunity you guys won, that was only because we threw the challenge to you.
Well, technically 7. We threw the 7th one just to get Bert down.
This prompts Savage to get really PO'd, and in confessional he picks on Fairplay by calling him Little John, but to Fairplay's face he keeps it pretty even keel.
I think that's just nonsense, and I think it's bad sportsmanship for him, little bastard, to indicate that we didn't fair and square win that challenge. Let the games begin. Let's take the gloves off and let's see what they're made of. Let's have some fun.
This anger motivates Savage, and at the immunity challenge, in large part due to his effort, they win and make sure the tribes will be even once again at 5-5.
Gotta fight through it. She can't do it. Morgan wins immunity. You should give that to Savage.
Yeah, I think it's already.
Well earned. You got tears in your eyes. You all right? Feel good?
What happens next is completely game-changing, not only to this season of Survivor, but to the game and what's going to happen in the future as a whole. For the first time ever, the players voted out of the game are coming back with a chance to actually get back into the proper game. They are the outcasts, and if they win the next challenge, then they get to vote 2 players back in the game to replace one Morgan and one Drake. And that is exactly what happens as they easily win.
Michelle's through. Burton's through. Ryan is through. The outcasts defeat Morgan and Drake. This challenge is over.
Back at camp, Savage is super annoyed about this twist happening and expresses how these misfits, referring to the outcasts, need to be cut as soon as they go to their first tribal council.
Those 6 in the misfits have no right to be here. Skinny Ryan has no business stepping on this beach again. Lil, God bless her, I love her. She's got no business competing in those challenges.
Now what he apparently didn't hear, probably because he was so angry about it happening, is that Jeff actually said before the challenge even took place that anyone who comes back into the game gets automatic immunity at their first tribal council. Rhino clarifies, hey, actually Jeff said this thing, and that just goes on to further annoy Savage. This isn't a good look. Between the name calling, the anger, and Tawana pointing out how Savage is clearly threatened by his position of power possibly being gone.
I think that Andrew's very comfortable being the leader. He's got the best seat in the house, and I think he wants to keep that.
It just doesn't make Savage look good at all, and it comes across as maybe he's not that great.
Worst case scenario, we'll vote somebody out tomorrow, and it can't be in the who joined us.
Since Morgan has to vote someone out, Austin once again volunteers to sacrifice himself, and this time everyone acquiesces to this and lets him quit, which Jeff Probst is not at all pleased with Austin about.
Per your wishes, go home.
So who do the outcasts vote back into the game?
Second person going back into the game.
But what is most important here is not only does Lil get voted back in, but she also gets sent right back to the Morgan tribe, who try to welcome her with open arms, but she isn't feeling welcomed. And in fact, she still feels burnt by Savage, who we already know doesn't really want her back, and does a really bad job at hiding his feelings on the matter.
I woke up this morning really angry. I almost had to pinch myself. Is this real? Am I hallucinating? This is day 20. Why the hell's Lil here? We lost you. It hurt.
I'm thinking, whatever.
And then we go yesterday to the reward challenge, and this happens. We're like, what the hell?
The tribes merge soon after, and the division is still 5 members apiece, so either someone needs to flip, or there will be a tie vote at tribal council.
Drop your buffs. You're merging. Hell yeah.
The Drake tribe do a pretty good job at courting Lil to come over, and it helps that Burton, who was voted out and then returned to the Drake tribe, tells Lil that she can trust the Drakes, and he seems to be all in with them again. Savage then tries to court Lil himself, but does a terrible job at giving her any reason to pick them over Drake, and makes it more about you should help Morgan because you owe us, and less Lil, if you join Morgan and help us, we'll make sure you get further.
Do you want to vote with the Morgans?
I don't know.
It's important to us.
You guys are ready to ditch me off again.
You let me know before.
I'll jump off the horse.
Remember I asked you to let me know before, and you didn't?
The Drake tribe sees Savage as the Morgan's tribe's clear-cut leader and decides to simply cut the head off of the snake by voting him out 6-4.
Andrew, tribe has spoken. It's time for you to go.
Rhino, DT, hang tough.
So let's break this down. How is Savage as a character? He was intelligent. He had his entire tribe trust him and was the narrative mouthpiece for what was happening on Morgan, which made us associate him with that tribe. He did give out a lot of negative nicknames over the course of the season, like Limp Noodle, Misfits, Little John, calling the Drake tribe bad guys and punks, etc. However, he showed extreme loyalty to the Morgan tribe and always did what he thought was best as their leader. From getting naked with them at the challenge, convincing Austin not to quit, and ultimately blundering his relationship with Lil. While he was not the most entertaining character on the season, he was a worthwhile key that helped make the first 8 episodes enjoyable. Out of 12 character moments shown on the show, 8 were heroic and 4 were villainous, making Andrew Savage a hero on Survivor Pearl Islands. Now, how is Savage as a strategist? Not great. While he was on the right side of the numbers until he inevitably gets voted out, how he plays that pre-merge game ultimately was never going to let him get very far once he makes the merge. The way he talks about people behind their backs, how he handles people he doesn't perceive as valuable, makes for a hole in his social game that was bound to get exposed during the merge had he made it further. He did nothing to manage his threat level, and he completely fumbles reeling Lil back in when he has the perfect opportunity to do so. It's argued that he makes it farther and possibly wins if the outcast twist doesn't happen, but it is clear that even without the outcast twist, he would have needed anyone truly playing the game like Fairplay, Sandra, and Krista all gone early in order to make sure he glides his way to the end, and even then, the way he spoke about people behind their backs would probably not sit well with the jury. What he did well, he does really well, but when things don't go his way, he crumbles. Out of 20 strategic moments shown on the show, 11 were smart and 9 were dumb, making Andrew Savage a smart strategist on Survivor Pearl Islands. Next time on Once Upon an Island, we will be weaving the tale of Johnny Fairplay, the clear-cut villain of Survivor Pearl Islands. Thanks for watching, and if you like the content you see here, then please support me and this channel on Patreon. Your financial support makes this channel possible, so thank you, and thank you for watching.